Welcome to Extraordinary Women in Tech Diamond Interviews, where we spotlight extraordinary women shaping the future of tech with purpose and brilliance. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Raji Kumar, a bold leader at the intersection of data, AI, and the business intelligence. With a PhD in biomedical engineering, she is now VP of Strategic Initiatives at Lockton. Welcome, Raji. How are you?
Thank you, Liana. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited about this conversation because I know that there's a lot of great things that you've done in your career, and I hope we can capture all of it in this interview. You've known as a dynamic leader in tech. What moments in your journey shaped your path, and what inspired you to pursue STEM from the beginning?
No, great question. One of my earliest sparks of curiosity came from, I remember my dad had given me 2 volumes of How Stuff Works, the book. I was reading, and these are all small snippets with an image, and it explains to you how stuff works. And I remember reading about mitochondria in a human cell. And it was at an age where I didn't fully understand the breadth of science, but I was old enough to understand how much possibility if a smallest minuscule of thing can do so much, how much possibility there is in the universe. I think that was where really my urge or my curiosity towards STEM really got planted, and that curiosity turned into a full-blown commitment. I knew by the time I was graduating with my bachelor's in biomedical engineering that I wanted to go to US. I wanted to get my PhD. It was that commitment that and drive basically from and a clear support from my parents that I moved here. I got my PhD in biomedical engineering. I worked so hard putting in 14, 16 hours. It was so determined. I earned my PhD with honors at the age of 25, youngest at the time when I graduated. And, kudos, many more, scholars have come out since then. But in all of that advancement in that career for that phase, I started noticing something. It became very clear soon enough that my energy and my passion is not in the bench. It's just not, to be contained within a lab, but a lot more to see a bigger picture, whether it's strategy, whether it's operations, whether it's to solve problems at scale. So I made a quick shift and moved into business in the startup world. I think that really comes from my dad. I mean, he's been a big influence, who's a natural entrepreneur. So the saying goes, there's a Japanese saying, and I love that. It has been one of the guiding principles for me. If you get on the wrong train, get off the next station. The longer you stay on, the more expensive the return trip will be. I think that mindset has really helped me stay important, and I've made pivots in my career, staying true to that saying. So I've never waited until everything was perfect. I've made the switch when I think it's relevant for my career, and that's what has helped me stay dynamic in this environment, or even in general. How do you wake up the next morning to look forward, to stay motivated?
No, it's beautiful. I think there's a lot of us that sometimes shy away of making that bold movement, bold steps, that something is not feeling right. But when you actually make a change, I think you will definitely feel the difference, right? And involvement and what you love to do. And I know that you've gone through the path of from startups, building it very, very in a fast-paced environment, big teams and changing leadership and wearing different hats. So Raji, what are some repeatable habits or strategies that help you lead effectively, especially in a fast-paced and fast-moving environment?
Early on in my upbringing, the theme was, and it continues to help me guide it, is discipline. Whether it's physical or mental discipline, it's all about sticking to a routine, staying focused, and manage your emotions. That structure has helped me stay calm even when everything around me has been chaotic. It serves me as a great foundation. So I follow that as well as a personal framework. This is something that has grown over years for me, with me. Be half full. Otherwise, you are not going to be learning something new. To have a better vision, to be a better yourself for the next day, or to be ready for the next day. That mindset has helped me stay curious. It has helped me stay open and growth oriented, even when things, whether it moves quickly or it does not move in your favor, right? It could go one of the both ways. And looking back, I would say, confidently, I can say my first decade in my work in the workforce has been all about building resilience, growing thick skin. I was not this person when I first started out in the workforce. Learning how to take feedback and showing up with consistency, right? And the second decade has been completely focused on clarity, whether it's being clear about your priorities, decision making, communication. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but nobody's perfect that way. We all have to push ourselves to be a better version of ourselves. And understanding what that underlying theme is, what you're working towards, helps you, that's the repeatable habit that you can stick to yourself. Every morning you can tell yourself, this is what I'm going to be focusing on today because I promised myself I would. So from a leadership perspective, I create a rhythm in a fast moving environment, whether it's through communication structures, feedback loops, or decision framework. Speed is important. Don't get me wrong. Right. But I believe in calm urgency, not necessarily a reactive hustle, if you think about it, right? So how do you react in those panic moments really defines who you are as a leader. And there's a lot to learn from a lot of great mentors out there. There's so many tips and tricks that, women just in general, we can learn from each other. We are natural learners. We are natural growers. We are, natural bearers of great change in history, I would say.
We mentioned a lot of things, and what I'm hearing is a lot of like resilience and building the thick skin, and also learning from that and becoming really calm in like really tough situations. And I love that going with the urgency, but being at peace at the same time. And I know today everybody talking about AI, and my main topic that I want to bring up is about how can women take bold steps in AI without fear, especially when they don't want to be left behind in such a fast-paced field. But I think there is an equal playing field for us to use AI. But is there a way for us to be more alert and more focused on learning and being part of that movement?
It is so relevant. I'm so glad you asked me that. AI can actually feel overwhelming. I felt that. I continue to feel that in different areas when it comes to new technology. I read this stat the other day. AI is changing every 3 days. How crazy is that? But that's reality. It moves fast, and there's lots of noise out there. So it's normal for us to feel unsure where to even begin or feel overwhelmed whether you belong in that conversation or not. But opting out is not an answer. That's just not an option at all. Like you have to be in that ride, right? So in my work, I operate in a range of roles, whether it's a decision maker or you're an advisor or a go-to person, a doer, a builder, an innovator. It doesn't matter, especially when it comes to AI and operations, right? I didn't start in AI. That wasn't my background, but I grew into that by staying curious. I think that has been, going back to the fundamental habits and routine, like staying curious really helps you get to that next step and asking how could it apply to your job. What have I been already doing that if I adapt AI into my workflow, where can it get me from here to the next step, and be willing to learn alongside, right? That shouldn't scare you. What should scare us really is being left behind or even being taken advantage of just because we didn't learn the basics or get the framework right. So you need to understand, you don't have to have a deep technical expertise at all. You just need to have that willingness to adapt and just really embrace the change. And, one other thing, just from a recent conversation with another colleague the other day, I realized, and this has been a conscious decision, but I'm glad that many people are also starting to realize is that stay connected with the next generation, right? They are growing up with this technology, which means they have a fresh perspective and a value to add to that. It's their native environment. They know so much that we probably are still figuring out how to learn that, right? So it's important to collaborate across generations, not compete, collaborate, right? And also the next wave, understanding that the next wave of people, by evolution, they're going to be better than us. And we just have to, accept and embrace that. It's a good thing. We want the next generation to be better than us, right? So at the bottom line, AI is not about knowing everything. It's about staying open, experimenting, asking better questions, taking the risk of not being left behind or not knowing the basics. So evolution happens with or without us. Let's at least choose to be part of that. That's the way I see it.
I love it, and I think what I'm hearing, the scarcity of, hey, our young generation is really overlearning and overpowering us, and we are really staying behind because we're not as fast in adopting and taking the technology. So I love the advice is collaborate, and it's not a competition. I think there's a lot of maturity in the things that we've learned and human element that we can bring to the new generation. It could be a very nice collaboration.
For sure.
And in terms of one powerful advice, you already said a lot of great things and advice to people in your personal journey. But what would be one powerful advice that you can give to women growing their careers in tech today, and also to a new generation, right, where AI will kind of make it more equally for them to be in the tech world? There will be more women coming into tech, but I'm sure that there is one thing that you can share from the early on that you've learned that could be helpful for them?
That's a great question. So, the one important advice that I can give, especially to women, even more so, especially to a younger myself, if I had that opportunity, is if you don't ask, you don't get. As simple as that. I wish I had learned that sooner. A lot of growth comes from whether or not you put yourself in the conversation. That's the deciding point. Be it in technology, be it in business, being entrepreneurial, being, a sole breadwinner of a family. You don't need to wait until you're fully ready. Most people are not ready. It's that evolution that really grows with us. So idea is to lead with before the title. Act like the person that you one day want to be, that you are acting like that today. So you're not waiting for things to fall into picture, things to look perfect for you. And I've been fortunate, and I didn't get here alone all by myself. So I want to, highlight that. I've been fortunate to have mentors who challenged my thinking, who gave me and still continues to give me perspective. And I truly believe it's our responsibility to pay that forward. Even if you're slightly ahead of the curve by one step, which means you have something different and unique to offer to someone else or to the next generation, right? So it's also, I think it's helpful. Personally, it has helped me, and I hope it helps others too, to have a guiding principle. For me, it's that half full mindset. So often I ask others, what's your guiding principle? What's your life philosophy? If you don't have one, now is as good as any time to sit down and define what that is for you. It helps you stay grounded. It helps you cut out all the noise. It helps you stay true to yourself. So that would be my one piece. Like if you don't ask, you don't get. Bottom line, that's as simple as that. So if you want something for yourself, be your advocate. Have that principle that guides you through all this, so you are staying true to yourself and be on the lookout for yourself.
Thank you, Raji. And a question a little bit more personal. I know that we have a few more minutes. Your happy place, like think about your life. I know that you were very happy at work, the way you were sharing with me. But if you divide your life, how do you see yourself? Okay, I'm fully happy today, or my life is fulfilled. Do you compartmentalize your life? Do you look at it as one big perspective? What makes you happy, truly happy every day? And if there is a missing, how do you address that? So you're staying afloat and balanced.
Great question. I'm very fortunate that way. I feel happy and proud and just energized to go to work every day. I love the work I do. I love the team that I'm part of. I think bottom line, it comes from having a good culture, whether it's at work or at home, and that starts with you, right? And it's to tell yourself, when somebody asks me, how am I doing today? There's absolutely no other answer except I'm awesome. Because you're your biggest cheerleader. If you don't love yourself and, if you don't cheer for yourself, if you don't feel happy for yourself, it all starts from there. That's the starting point, I feel like. And that's not to say, put a wall around you or put a different, mask around you to look happy, to, come across positive when you're really not feeling that way. And that's where the culture component in your environment comes, right? One piece, yes, it starts from within you. And two, how does your team, your environment, your work environment makes you feel? And Lockton is great. And my home, my family is fantastic. It's just, what you bring to the table is what you're going to get. How you treat others is how you want to be treated for yourself. So it goes both ways. It's both directions. And I've been fortunate to be in that space. And not always, we all have our ups and downs. But what you take from when you go through your trust, what you take away from that? What's that one positive thing? What's that, that one, shine ray of light at the end of the tunnel that has kept you grounded and, steer you in the right direction? That has been very clear and more of a learning experience for me too. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm hearing that it starts with you. It's a reflection. Whatever is coming around you, it actually starts from you. And, your world is starting with you being awesome. So thank you so much for sharing. There's a lot of learnings I'm sure everyone can take from this interview. And I hope we stay connected, and I hope we see you in person and in one of our conferences and events where you can inspire more people. And I really appreciate being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.